Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska, and my name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. The fallout from last night's debate for the White House finds many Democrats clearly worried. Vice President Kamala Harris defended President Biden's performance as one that got off to, in her words, a slow start, but had a strong finish. Joe Jordan has a look at the key moments and reaction from here in Nebraska.
The 90-minute debate will likely be remembered first and foremost for a moment early in the debate when viewers found a raspy-voiced 81-year-old President Joe Biden saying this.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Former President Donald Trump did not immediately respond to Biden's apparent lost train of thought, but later on a different topic, he said this.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Other issues found the two completely at odds, from inflation and immigration to abortion and democracy, and found Jane Klebb, the head of the Nebraska Democratic Party, insisting that Trump is a liar, every freaking word. Republican Congressman Don Bacon noting he's been watching debates since 1976. This is the most lopsided debate I've ever seen. Trump dominated tonight. But Trump's critics look to this exchange to make the case that Trump is still unfit to run the country.
What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever.
My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically.
A second debate is scheduled for September. In Omaha, Joe Jordan, News Channel, Nebraska.
In other news, a Burwell man in custody after authorities say he shot a 52-year-old man at a feedlot in rural Garfield County. 55-year-old William Weber faces charges of attempted first-degree murder along with felony assault and weapon charges. The incident happened Wednesday morning. Authorities say he was arrested without incident and is being held on $500,000 bond at the Valley County Jail in Ord. The victim has been hospitalized with a gunshot wound, although details surrounding the altercation that led up to the shooting are still under investigation. Speeding, it's a problem all over highways in Nebraska, particularly in small towns. Kyle Mathis has more on what one town is doing to try to stop that.
It's a common problem that plagues small communities on highways: vehicles speeding through town. Jansen is a town of just 143 people in southeast Nebraska. It's located on Highway 136, where the speed limit shifts from 65 to 45 miles per hour in just around 10 yards. But they have seen and heard vehicles fly through their town with no intention to slow down.
In the middle of the night, especially, and with the trucks flying by, you can hear them and you know they're not breaking their speed whatsoever.
The speeding occurs not only on the highway, but on the town roads as well. Village clerk Kara Pico says the high speeds pose a risk to residents and, most importantly, children at play.
We're trying to do everything we can to make sure that our community stays safe because, it's summertime. Kids are playing.
Pico says the town has been assisted by state troopers and Jefferson County deputies to enforce the limit. Roads have been equipped with signs and a speed limit tracker. She believes that's the way to keep drivers under the limit.
Just posting an officer.
Okay.
All it takes is the presence, and people will pay attention to their speed.
Pico is grateful for the sheriff's department's help with signs, speed trackers, and officer presence. She knows the risk it creates for locals when drivers don't slow down.
All it takes is one car not paying attention and turning out, and somebody's doing 65 instead of 45, and it's an accident that does not need to happen.
In Jansen, Kyle Mathis, News Channel, Nebraska.
A major street being rebuilt in South Beatrice could fully reopen to traffic next week. R.L. Tiemann Construction's been repaving South 13th between Beaver and Oak Streets. It's a project they say was running well ahead of schedule until the rain last month. At one point, the project was 3.5 weeks ahead of schedule based on their 100-day construction period.
We started booking other projects in that 3.5 week time period, and then May hit and we got some pretty good rain. The rains fell at just the wrong times where it would just dry out and then it would rain again. There was one section, I think we disked it 16 times to dry it out, and you just get it dried out and compacted, then it would rain again.
What's made this job unusual, the one-way in, one-way out nature of access to homes in that area. Keeping the area accessible to residents lengthened the time frame for the work. The Tiemann says the last section of concrete to be poured this week was part of the road between two driveways, along with some sidewalk and an approach area. Well, unlike 5 years ago, flooding along the Missouri River from Omaha southward is considered more of an inconvenience than a danger, but officials say they're still concerned that those who live and work along the river aren't taking the warnings seriously. Missouri is expected to crest in Omaha Friday and Plattsmouth on Saturday. Joe Jordan has the latest.
Driving around some parts of Omaha getting a bit tougher. Most significantly, the I-680 bridge connecting Nebraska and Iowa shut down by the flood, as is a short stretch of I-29 just east of Omaha. With the Missouri River expected to crest Thursday, the next few days still a problem.
We will be coming down off of moderate flood stage, which is where it's pretty critical, sometime Friday into Saturday.
Officials tell us that by and large they expect a levee system that protects Omaha to keep the water where it belongs. At the same time, there is a concern that folks who live at the water's edge might not be taking all these warnings seriously enough. 20 miles to the south in Plattsmouth, where the Missouri and Platte rivers meet, roads along the water are closed, and Cass County is among several counties covered in a state of emergency declared by Governor Pillen, freeing up state funds if needed. In the meantime, back in Omaha, cleanup continues from a midweek severe thunderstorm that ripped countless trees limb from limb and left upwards of 10,000 OPPD customers without power. In Omaha, Joe Jordan, News Channel, Nebraska.
Well, the summer provides a time for outdoor local shopping, and communities have the chance to do so in a way to support small businesses instead of at a grocery store. Jake Bartecki has more from the Beatrice Farmers Market.
The season for local outdoor shopping is underway in southeast Nebraska.
There's really just a real wide variety of things you can find here. Honey, eggs, everything.
Morgan Fox is executive director for Main Street Beatrice, the group that puts on the Beatrice Farmers Market every summer Thursday from 4 to 6:30 at 6th and High Streets. Fox says the farmers market is a way of community supporting community.
Locally grown produce and handmade items from your neighbors are always going to be better than anything you can get at the big box stores, right? And so we love having it in downtown Beatrice because we're able to keep it local, keep it downtown, and really encourage people to just be in Beatrice and be local and keep our money local, which is so important to all of us.
Fox says the farmers market goes beyond benefiting just the sellers and the community, but can also benefit the buyer. They get healthier produce, and they also can build a better relationship with who they buy that produce from.
There you've got farmers here that will literally invite you out to their farms to show you how they grow their produce and to see how their operations work, because they're so proud of the work they do. And I think supporting that's the most important thing.
In Beatrice, Jake Bartecki, News Channel, Nebraska.
For more than a decade, a Central Nebraska museum has showed off cars from decades long ago. Michael Shively gives us a look at the new spin on a stalwart attraction.
So this is a 1968 Dodge Coronet RT convertible.
Brad Kernick has been showing off prized rides at the Classic Car Collection in Kearney since it opened.
That this is one of 10, so there are very few of them made.
But it's never been like this.
This car is worth probably $250,000.
The museum on the east side of the Cabela's building is relaunching under a new name, the American automobile experience.
The more we thought about it and talked about it, the more appealing that became.
The change comes after much of the original collection was sold about a year ago. Before, the museum was stocked with largely wooden spoke pre-war cars. Now the selection has broadened to include more vehicles from the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
I unquestionably say we've got the best mix of cars in here that we've ever had.
The board marked the rebrand with a ribbon cutting. Blueprint Engines partnered to host a week of car shows that culminates Sunday with a drive-in theater showing of Cars 3. CEO Norris Marshall is a new museum board member.
By the time we're done with this week, everybody is going to know that something new is going on at the American Automobile Experience. It's not the same old museum that it was before.
Instead of owning the autos like it used to, most of the museum's collection is on loan. That means the inventory will constantly be refreshed.
It's just awesome to bring your family here and look at the cars and tell the stories that you remember and pass those on.
This is a 1931 Ford AA school bus.
Some of the 135 cars are loaned from people out of state, but many, like the historic school bus, come from locals.
I look at this and I just visualize it bouncing down the road with 6 or 8 or 10 kids in it yelling and screaming, and I mean, it's wonderful.
The remarkable collection of automobiles from the past has the museum's organizers enthused about its future.
Board of directors, our volunteers are all positive and upbeat, and hopefully the public can sense that.
In Kearney, Michael Shively, News Channel, Nebraska.
With heavy populations in pockets of Nebraska, Czech heritage holds a special place in the hearts of many, including in Clarkson, who's preparing for their annual celebration this weekend. Luke Stera has more.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Nebraska has one of the highest Czech populations in the country, with almost 4% tracing their heritage back to Czechoslovakia. Being one of those, Shirley Hammernick remembers learning how to sing in Czech as a child.
We would learn how to pronounce Czech, so we learned how to read the Czech language phonetically.
This weekend, she and others will honor their heritage during Clarkson Czech Days. Traditional Czech food, dress.
This was one I made after my mother brought back a bunch of trim from the Czech Republic that when she and my brother traveled there.
This is what I earned back in the days, Český králj, that means Czech king.
And polka will all line the streets of downtown Clarkson.
Vítame vás. It's a normal Czech greeting that means we welcome you, but it's also a way for the younger generation to know where they came from, something organizers say has become a growing interest over the years.
There's so much history in this area from Czechs that it just take your breath away sometimes.
Among events including a pageant and dancing, it gives a chance for people to experience how their ancestors celebrated decades ago.
Until the Czech Festival was started back in the day, a lot of us didn't appreciate. We took it for granted. We need to know our background.
The festival kicks off in Clarkson Friday and runs throughout the weekend. Reporting for News Channel Nebraska, this is Luke Stera.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com and click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.